We're going to tell a really helpful story today. And this story might resonate with you if you're in that moment in your life when you woke up today and you were ready to give up. When you'd been spinning your wheels and you were tired. Maybe you were up all night. Maybe you didn't get any sleep because you were anxious about election results, about your job, about your family. And this story from Luke 5 may be God's word for you right now. That's our hope and our prayer, is that what we're doing, what we're giving to you, is going to help you not just get through your day, but bring you deeper into your trust and your relationship with Jesus Christ. So I want to tell you this story from Luke chapter 5. And it's when these fishermen had been out all night. And they see this stranger come down, and they had empty nets. They were fishing all night. This was their way of life. It's how they put food on the table for their families. They were up all night, and they caught nothing. Now, some of us, we fish for fun, and we feel pretty down when we don't catch anything. But can you imagine that being your livelihood? Maybe you are a fisherman, and maybe you know exactly what that feels like. Or maybe you're in a different situation in your own life, but you can imagine what Simon Peter and his other friends, his co-workers, his partners, were going through that morning when they see this stranger with a crowd following him down to the shore where you're washing your empty nets. So now you've got this feeling of failure on top of embarrassment because now there's a crowd watching you clean your empty nets. And here comes Jesus. He'd been teaching this crowd. They were starting to hear what he was saying and respond to his message. And he steps into Simon's boat without asking permission. So now there are these layers. Peter's overwhelmed because he didn't catch anything. Now he's embarrassed because there's a crowd watching him clean his empty nets. And now this guy, Jesus, has the nerve to step into his boat and asks him to row out a little way so the crowd can hear him better. And when the crowd disperses after the lesson, Jesus asks to go out to deeper water for a catch. And here's where the story gets really good. And this is where I want you to pay attention. They row out a little ways, and Jesus tells them to drop their nets. And Simon Peter says, "Teacher, we've been at this all night, and we haven't caught anything." But he makes a choice. And this choice changes his life. And these are the types of choices we make every day that can change our lives. Peter admits that he's already been at it all day. He acknowledges, he's honest with Jesus that he's done. Then he says, "But because you said so, I'll let down the nets." Now, who knows what kind of attitude may have accompanied those words. Maybe he was going to teach Jesus a lesson. "Okay, hot shot, you told me to drop the nets, I'll drop the nets and prove a point." Or maybe it was a last-ditch effort to put it all on the line. He had nothing else to lose. And so he took Jesus at his word and let down his nets. And as you can imagine, there's a miraculous catch. And maybe you heard this story before. But think about how differently that story would have gone if Simon Peter refused to drop the net. That's the kind of choice that we have to make every day. Are we going to hear what Jesus tells us and do what he asks, or not? It's as simple as that. But the way Simon Peter responds to this catch is truly remarkable. So they didn't catch just one fish or two fish. They catch so many fish that they begin to sink. As they're bringing fish into the boat, they have to call their partners over, James and John, and they start filling their boat too. And then Simon Peter cries out to Jesus using this title that's far more meaningful than just calling Jesus a teacher. He calls Jesus Lord. And he said, "Get away from me, Lord, because I'm a sinner. I've made too many mistakes, and I don't deserve to be in your presence." And the way that Luke tells this story, he says that Simon Peter fell at Jesus' knees, which is really strange because nowhere else in the Bible can I find a reference to someone falling at Jesus' knees. There are times when people fall at Jesus' feet, or where we're invited to lay down our burdens at the foot of the cross. But there's no other reference to Jesus' knees in the entire Gospel of Luke except when Jesus prays in the Garden of Gethsemane before he offers his life. And it says that he drops to his knees and prays to God, "Please take this cup away. But not my will, your will be done." That's the only other reference to knees. So what was it about Jesus' knees? This is a really fun part of the story that we might miss if we're just reading past it. Think about what just happened. They were in an empty boat. Jesus gets in the boat. He tells Simon Peter to row out a little further and drop the net. Simon says, "I've been at this all night, but because you say so, I'll drop the net." They drop the net. They begin to fill the boat. Imagine what Jesus had been doing as they were bringing in this catch. There are a lot of ways that you can probably paint that picture. Maybe Jesus is just sort of sitting there idly by as these guys are working relentlessly to bring in this huge catch. Or maybe Jesus is getting his hands dirty trying to help these guys bring in these fish. But the point being, they filled the boat so full it started to sink. So when Simon Peter goes to bow in Jesus' presence, the boat's so full of fish that he can't get to Jesus' feet. And so Luke tells the story that Simon Peter fell at Jesus' knees because they were up to their knees in fish. In other words, God filled Simon's life so full of blessings that he got as low as he possibly could in the presence of Jesus to proclaim his faith and to surrender his life at the knees of Jesus, because God had given him a boatload of blessings. And that's our lesson today. When we're feeling overwhelmed in life, when we're ready to give up, that's your invitation to stop. Open your eyes and remember, God already stepped into your life. And that was what happened to Simon Peter. It wasn't until Simon recognized that his boat was full of blessings that he could see Jesus as more than a teacher. Until that point, Jesus might as well have been a nuisance. He was probably frustrated with Jesus. But it says that when Simon Peter saw what happened, the language says that it's as if his eyes were opened. It's not just like he saw the miracle. It's as if the eyes of his mind were opened to really see all of Jesus' glory, to recognize in his heart that Jesus was more than just a teacher. And the same thing can happen for us when we make similar choices. When we come to those moments in our life and we're ready to give up, and we remember that call from God to take care of the needy, to serve and not to be served, to love our enemies and not just our friends. When we remember Jesus' words and Jesus' teaching and Jesus' example, and we're confronted with a choice, we're either going to do what Jesus asked or not. When we do what Jesus asks, like Simon Peter did, we may find we're in a boatload of blessings. And when you begin to count those blessings, the only faithful response is to fall at Jesus' knees. So today, if you're ready to give up, if you're tired, if you're overwhelmed, remember, God has already stepped into your life, just like Jesus stepped into Peter's boat. And when we begin to trust and obey what Jesus taught, we may find we're up to our knees in blessings. So take care today. Count your blessings and love like Jesus.